For years in Western universities, they have been teaching students that inflation is a great thing. It progresses society and everything. And suddenly, in 2021, it's a bad thing because inflation, everybody knows about it. I mean, before 2021, let's say the 2000, 2010s, you know, I don't remember what happened in the 90s, and I certainly don't remember what happened in the 80s. But basically, for from the 80s to 90s to 2000s to 2010s, right, up until 2021, right, they have been like saying inflation is a good thing, and that's what they've been teaching the kids in school, unfortunately. And I had this argument with one of my uncle's daughters in 2017 or 2016, I believe. And I started studying economics in 2010, right? When I was earning US dollars and then I was losing money converting it to Canadian dollars. At the time, the US dollars was at, I think like 90 something cents to the Canadian dollar. And the Canadian dollar was strong, right? So, anyways, I was losing money, so I started studying economics online by myself, right? I mean, I already paid $50,000 to learn some random stuff in school that didn't make me any money. And I wasn't going to pay again to learn some other random stuff that don't pay any money either. So, anyways, I started learning it online. So I started talking to my uncle's daughter about inflation and how it's a bad thing. And then, she went all out on me. She's like, "Oh, you don't know. In school, this is what the professors teach me. Inflation is a great thing, you know." And all of a sudden, I didn't say anything. Well, until 2021 when the whole news coverage is like inflation is creating hard times. Before 2021, which is around 2020, 2010, 2000, they've been saying inflation is a great thing. It's for economic success, right? And it's all a lie. You see, the thing is in the 2000s, right? In 2003, I believe, they changed the definition of inflation. Like in 2021, they changed the definition of vaccine. You see, inflation used to mean, like for hundreds of years, I believe, of the English dictionary and language, inflation used to mean inflating the currency supply, right? Which is, or debasing the currency supply, depending on how you see it. But inflation is expanding the currency supply, which is basically printing more money. But they didn't want to have that because they know that if inflation happens, then people will know who caused the inflation. So they changed the definition of inflation to rising costs of living. And they don't even include housing, right? Because from 2010 to 2020, the cost of housing has been skyrocketing, right? So they don't even include housing. So they only included inflation only included mostly grocery prices. I mean, what the hell? Grocery prices? And then consumer prices. Anyways, so they did that instead. And they've been sitting on the news media. If you watch CNN, CNBC, New York Times, any freaking mainstream media, you will see them telling you, "Oh, there's no inflation, everything is great," while the prices of houses has been skyrocketing for like 10 years, right? And what happened was that they didn't talk about it, and they've been always been saying is a good thing until 2021. And now this is when I'm coming out and like just kind of saying I told you inflation was bad, because as you can see here, in 1970 to 2020, the price of coffee has went up $1.50. I mean, you're looking at $1.50, not a lot, but the thing is, this used to cost 25 cents, and maybe in 1950 it used to cost 1 cent. Who knows? Or maybe 5 cents. Right? But you have those old comic books where one comic is like 5 cents. Well, somehow those comics in the 1990s was like $8, even though the cover still says 5 cents, right? So they lost a lot of value somewhere around here. I don't want to talk about it. That is invisible because I don't even know the numbers there. But from here, right? Like the 2000s, the houses, like, houses in Toronto or maybe around the world had been about 200, 300K, right? I mean, maybe in the upper end about 600K. Now, in 2020 or 2021, the prices of houses are in the millions. And that's like that that's like for detached, right? And because before that, in the 2000, they didn't even like people didn't even want to buy condos, and condos had like what, a maintenance fee. You had to pay for it. Those didn't even exist, and you don't even have a land, right? While in 2021 it's different. You're buying something in the air, and basically you have to pay a monthly mortgage on top of a mortgage with the maintenance fee, and you don't even get any land. And the prices have still skyrocketed, which makes no sense, except for, hey, the money supply hasn't expanded. But anyways, so inflation, they changed the definition of inflation in 2003 to rising prices, like 2021, where they changed the definition of vaccine, where it used to mean immune to a disease, right? But now it's like stimulate immunity to a disease, which is entirely different because you think about it this way. If you play a video game, if it says something's immune to fire, when you get burned by fire, you're invincible, right? That's how it is, right? And then, now that it means stimulates immunity, well, as you're being burned by the fire, you're still getting hurt. It's just like it stimulates the immunity. It doesn't mean you're immune to it. So you're still losing health, right? So that's basically what it means, and I have no idea why they changed it. Why do you need to change something when you could have just used a different word, invented a new word? Because these words have been there for thousands of years. Well, I don't even know how long the English language has been, but maybe hundreds of years. But anyways, inflation is never a good thing. It was never a good thing before, but somewhere in this era, because this is where, I actually had my mind open. Um, People were being taught in school, which I do not believe you should pay those professors that don't really know anything to learn about economics. You can learn about it online. But they're telling you that inflation was a good thing. And now suddenly everybody knows that inflation is a bad thing. And I just want to say, hey, if you're one of them that used to think inflation is a good thing, and then somehow somebody in the news, your professor in school or something like that, you really got to think about where you're learning these things from and why you are being fed these information when they're completely clueless. Because anybody that saved money from 1970 to 2020, and most people that are in the teenage years won't think about it, but people in the 1970s, they're still around like what? Their 50s, right? So they're not dead yet. They're still alive. And not just that. Let's say their parents saved them a bunch of money, right? And they gave it to them. Well, you see, they lost money. So that kind of sucks, right? But anyways, inflation was never a good thing. It isn't a good thing. Anybody that tells you is a good thing. It's not a good thing at 2%. It's not a good thing at 4%. It's not a good thing at 8%. It's not a good thing at 12%, right? It's not a good thing. But they want to tell you it's a good thing, right? It's a good thing at 0%. That means you're not losing anything. Because if you're saving something, hell, you're saving it to use it later. You're not saving something so you could lose money and not be able to use it. It makes 0 sense. Anyway, so yeah, I just want to make this video and kind of put that out there because too many people are being taught by these professors or these school teachers that really don't know what the fuck they're talking about anymore or never knew what they were talking about because everything was dandy, right? Skies were great around the 1980s, 1990s, 2000, and then they had it for so long, they haven't figured it out yet, and then suddenly, bam, in 2021, inflation is starting to make life hurt. And not everybody is going to make it out good. I mean, everybody is going to struggle, but it depends on the percentage, I guess, of the struggle. Or maybe, how painful it will be, but it'll be painful because in 2008 people lost their jobs, and a lot of them that played around pretty much some of them went bankrupt and they had to like live on the streets. And I think something worse is coming along, and you gotta learn how to save your money and not get into that situation.